Hi there, my name is Ben and I'm a software architect on the DataMasque team. In this video, we're going to demonstrate how you can use DataMasque to mask your sensitive production data before you move it into non-production environments for use by, for example, your software developers and testers. We're going to mask a simple web application database, and we're going to need to ensure that there is consistency between data duplicated in different tables of the database, and that the masked data we produce is realistic and meets the functional requirements for testing the application. So let's have a look at this application data. Here we have a customer record, and we can see that a customer has a first name, a last name, a date and time of registration, and a phone number in a specific format. Each customer is also associated with multiple addresses, each of which specifies a city and country. Also note that customer addresses contain the full name of the customer, which duplicates the first and last names above. In order to preserve the functionality of this application, we will need to ensure that the masked data retains consistency between the names and customer records and addresses. We will also need to make sure that each address has a valid combination of city and country, and that the customer phone numbers are in the correct format. If we look at the page listing all customers, we can see that we have many thousands of customer records to mask, and that all first names begin with the letter A, which will help us to distinguish them from masked names later on. Let's have a look at the database schema that underlies this application. We can see that there are two tables, a customer table and an address table, and that each customer can be associated with multiple addresses via the customer ID foreign key in the address table. We can also see again the duplication of a customer's first and last name in the full name of each address. So in order to facilitate the masking of this database, I've prepared two CSV files that will act as seeds for generating the replacement masked values in the database. These files contain lists of replacement first names and last names, as well as cities and countries. Note that all first names and city names begin with the letter B so that they can be easily distinguished from the unmasked data. I have uploaded these seed files into DataMasque ahead of time, and you can also upload your own custom seed files or any of the generic seed files that are available for download in the DataMasque user guide. Let's now move over to DataMasque itself. So here on the dashboard, we can see the database connections that are available for us to mask, as well as the rule sets that specify instructions for how to mask those databases. At the moment, we can see a connection and rule set that I've prepared to mask our example application. If we have a look at the connection, we can see that it contains all of the configuration for connecting to our application database. This is a Microsoft SQL Server database, but DataMasque also currently supports masking Oracle databases. It is also worth highlighting that DataMasque supports encryption in transit for all data transmitted to and from your database. Before we move on, let's test that the connection is working. Now if we go back to the dashboard, we can open the rule set that we'll be using to mask the data in this demonstration. We can see that the rule set itself is written in a YAML-based masking language. YAML is a modern, flexible configuration language used by many other tools like Ansible and Kubernetes, so it will be familiar and easy for engineers to use. There is also a graphical drag-and-drop interface for rule set editing on the way. We can see that this rule set contains two tasks, one to mask the customer table and one to mask the address table. Each masking task is made up of a series of rules, each of which specifies the masks that should be applied to a certain column of the table. For the customer table, we can see that we're masking the first name, last name, registration time, and phone number columns. We can see that replacement first and last names are being drawn from the customer seed file that we saw earlier, and that masked phone numbers are being generated with a combination of fixed and random values to ensure that they retain the original phone number format. For the address table, we generate the address full name as a combination of first and last names drawn from the customer seed file. We also specify the customer ID foreign key as a hash column, which aligns with the primary key of the customer table that we specified as the hash column for the first and last names. By specifying these hash columns, the selection of names will be made deterministically based on the customer ID, ensuring consistency between the names selected in both tables for the same customer. Finally, we are selecting a random city and country from the city seed file that we saw earlier, and that we are filtering the choice of city to those matching the country we select. This ensures that we will only see valid combinations of cities and countries in the masked data. Upon saving this rule set, we will return to the dashboard, where we can now initiate data masking by selecting the connection and rule set and proceeding to preview run. Before the masking is started, we are provided the opportunity to confirm the selection of connection, rule set, and other run options. We can also view the run command that can be used to perform the same masking operation in future as part of a data provisioning process or DevOps pipeline. So without further ado, let's start the run. While the database is being masked, we have a live view of progress log messages from the masking agents. We can also go back and view logs from all past masking runs, which are read-only in order to serve as auditable evidence. By scaling out masking agents in your DataMasque deployment, you can speed up the masking process by performing multiple runs at the same time. We can see that our masking run has now finished and has successfully masked 50,000 rows in the customer table and 100,000 rows in the address table. Now if we go back to the application and refresh the page, we can see that all of our customers have been masked, as all of their first names now begin with the letter B. If we look at the same customer record we saw before, and once again refresh the page, we can see that a random phone number has been generated in the correct format, that the customer and address names are consistent, and that we have valid combinations of city and country. So this concludes the demonstration of DataMasque,